Hello and welcome to today's lesson, which is the ecological consequences of climate change. So this is where we're looking at how relatively small changes in the Earth's environment caused by climate change can have dramatic impacts on the survival of species. And this is split into sort of two general areas: changes in abiotic factors. So we're looking at things like temperature changes, precipitation, ocean acidification, and then changes in biotic factors, so interdependence, population sizes, and distribution. So changes in abiotic factors. So if we remember, abiotic factors are non-living factors. So this is things like temperature, dissolved oxygen, pH, wind speed, water availability, all these sort of things. And we can see that all of these things are potentially going to be impacted by global climate change. Precipitation will change, wind speeds will increase or decrease, the pH of water, dissolved oxygen concentration associated with temperature in water, all these things have the potential to change. So if we look at temperature to start with, we can see that there's things like acid bleaching, coral bleaching, where the temperature exceeds the zone of tolerance for coral polyps and their symbiotic algae, which results in the coral polyps excluding the algae, and the coral all goes white, hence why it's called bleaching. And this is closely associated with stress, things like increase in temperature for periods of time beyond what it can tolerate. We have things like changes to hibernation. So dormice, or hazel dormice, I should be precise because you also get edible dormice. Hazel dormice survival is related to how warm the winter is. So warm winters mean that the dormice wake up and use up fat reserves. And then it might mean that they do not have enough energy to survive, because there is no food that early in the year for them. So they end up not being in breeding condition, or just not surviving the winter because they'll wake up during a warm period and then potentially go back to sleep and then sort of not wake up, or not wake up and have any food because the winter will get cold again. Next one then, precipitation. So changes in patterns of precipitation, the amounts, whether it's snowfall or rainfall or these sort of things, can all affect different species in different ways. So we've got things like wetland habitats. These are reliant on a flow of water. So an increase in rainfall will cause it to enlarge. A decrease in rainfall might make it shrink. And all the animals and plants, the entire community that rely on a wetland habitat might disappear with it. So things like frogs or amphibians, they may benefit if wetlands increase, or they might suffer if the wetlands decrease in size. And specialists such as sundews, our carnivorous plants with its sticky blobs on its leaves, these rely on wetland environments where they can outcompete competitor plants, because the competitor plants can't grow in the wet, waterlogged, nitrogen deficient conditions. If there's a decrease in rainfall, the soils will dry out. The more competitive, vigorous plants will be able to outcompete the sundew, and it will disappear. Another one then is ocean acidification. So ocean acidification is where carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, so this is the sea and the atmosphere, CO2 in the atmosphere and in the ocean is in balance. If we so the amount dissolving in will be the same as the amount going out, so it's in a dynamic equilibrium based off of the partial pressure of CO2 between the two. If we increase the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere through global climate change, so such as combustion of fossil fuels, FF is fossil fuels, this will increase the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, which will increase the amount dissolving into the ocean until it reaches a new dynamic equilibrium. This CO2 in the ocean reacts with the water and becomes carbonic acid. And this reacts with the amount of calcium ions and carbonate ions. And between the two of them, this makes the ocean acidic, and there is less calcium ions available for things like corals and phytoplankton that uses calcium to make up their shells, their protective shells. Things like coccolithophores are a classic example of this. And both of these make up the basis for food chains. So if these are adversely affected, if they are stressed and not so productive, then that will affect the rest of the food chain. So that's quite a significant abiotic factor that will be changed with global climate change that is not necessarily directly related to temperature.